168 years after the formation of the colonies. Many members of the colonies were gathered for the Second Virginia Conference. Little did they know, later a speech would be given that would start the match for one of the greatest conflicts in U.S. history. Throughout many different historical events, speakers are often present, and one of these speakers, whose words still echo through the United States to this day, is Patrick Henry. Patrick Henry ignited the fuse of the Revolutionary War and spoke the minds and discontent of colonial citizens when he gave his "Give me liberty" or "Give me death" speech in front of colonial delegates. Now, who is Patrick Henry? Patrick Henry was born in 1736 and grew up to be a shop owner and gardener. Unfortunately, due to financial reasons, his business failed, and he went back to school to become a lawyer. Through his career as a lawyer, he gained a lot of prestige and was eventually invited to the Second Virginia Convention. At this convention, he gave his famous speech, which was extremely influential and had such an impact on colonial citizens that he was eventually elected the first governor of Virginia in 1776. Now, where was the speech given? The speech was given at St. John's Church in Richmond, Virginia, at the Second Virginia Convention. The convention included many important figures like George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and other founding fathers. Now, Henry's purpose in giving this speech was similar to many different colonial citizens at the time. He was fed up with British oppression and wanted to see drastic changes. He wanted to fight for his independence and succeed from Great Britain. Significance to colonial citizens back there was simple. They were being treated unfairly compared to other English colonies and were given higher taxes and forced to quarter soldiers inside their homes. These reasons, plus many more, led to the colonies being at their breaking point. Today, many similar fights are still going on. For example, in 2019, the Hong Kong protests broke out. Hong Kong is under Chinese rule and in 2019 decided they wanted independence. They held a series of protests and events, and a main symbol of these events was the American flag. To the protesters, the American flag stood for independence and freedom and a chance at a good future. Now, as we go into the future, Henry's speech will continue to have merit, as people who are oppressed will look back on it for motivation and hope for a change. Now I'll play you a short excerpt from the speech, and keep in mind it is purely a reenactment, as videos did not exist in 1700s.
Revolution and inaction, shall we learn the means of effectual resistance by lying supinely on our backs and hugging the delusive phantom of hope? Sir, we are not weak if we make use of those means which the God of nature hath placed in our power. 3 millions of people armed in the holy cause of liberty, and in such a country as that which we possess, is invincible to any force our army can send against us. There is a just God who presides over the destinies of nations, who will raise up our friends to fight our battles for us. The battle, sir, is not to the brave alone, it is to the vigilant, the active, the brave. Besides, sir, we have no election. If we were base enough to desire it, it is now too late to retire from the contest. There is no retreat, but in submission and slavery our chains are forged. Their clanking may be heard on the plains of Boston. The war is inevitable, and let it come. I repeat, sir, let it come. It is in vain, sir, to extenuate the matter. Gentlemen may cry peace, peace, but there is no peace. The war is actually begun. The next gale that sweeps from the north will bring to our ears the clash of resounding arms. Our brethren are already in the field. Why stand we here idle? What is it the gentlemen wish? What would they have? Is life so dear, and peace so sweet, as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery? Forbid it, Almighty God! I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death!
Okay, today is June 1st.
Now let's take a look at what ethos, pathos, and logos was used in his speech. A great example of when Henry used ethos is, I have but one lamp by which my feet are guided, and that is the lamp of experience. I know of no way of judging of the future but by the past. He established his credibility with his scholarly audience by saying his greatest teacher was his experience. Second is pathos. He says, for my own part, I consider it nothing less than a question of freedom or slavery. He plays with the emotions of his audience here by comparing them to being slaves. Finally is logos. He questions, has Great Britain an enemy in this quarter of the world to call for all this accumulation of navies and armies? He wonders, why would Great Britain have such force in North America if not to forcefully keep the colonies under their control? Finally, are rhetorical devices used in his speech. He uses a lot of metaphors throughout his speech, and a great example of this is, trust it not, sir, it will prove a snare to your feet. In this metaphor, he is referring to the British government's devious smile and how it plays over the colonies. Next is repetition. Two examples are, we must fight. I repeat it, sir, we must fight. The war is inevitable, and let it come. I repeat it, sir, let it come. Finally is parallelism. He says, we have petitioned, we have remonstrated, we have supplicated, we have prostrated ourselves before the throne. And of course, his famous line, give me liberty or give me death. The speech, Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death by Patrick Henry was excellently constructed to express the hardships and oppression of colonial citizens under British rule. His influential speech was the spark which ignited the Revolutionary War and eventually led to freedom and independence for the United States. Today, his speech still holds merit as it is a source of hope and inspiration for people fighting for what they believe in. Thank you for listening to my speech.